Welcome to the Millennium Marriage Podcast,
where we discuss practical tools and insights into the joys and challenges of marriage. Welcome back to the Millennium Marriage Podcast. We're your host, as always. I'm Jose.
I'm Latoya.
And we are going to touch on a topic that is kind of really serious.
It's serious, but I think we miss it a lot.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know the percentage, and I probably should have looked this up. I'm sorry, folks.
You're
but
fired.
It is one of the leading reasons for divorce. And that is our finances as a married couple.
Yep.
And we have some fantastic,
amazing.
You took the word right out of my mouth. Guest.
Yes.
You want to introduce our?
We have
guest?
Our amazing Pastor Dave and his wife Liz Shanosk here with us.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for being with us today. For those of you who don't know, Word of Life Christian Center is our home. They are a part of our home, and we so appreciate all that they contribute to the church, to us as a family, and to our church family. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, great to be with you. It's awesome. We love you guys and love what God's doing through you, and excited to be a part of today. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to jump right in with one of our favorite questions that we ask every guest that joins us. And we want to know a little bit about your origin story as a couple. So kind of like a quick synopsis of how you met, how you come together and gotten to the point that you're at right now.
How you stalked her, you know.
That was you.
Oh, that was me.
Yes,
sorry.
that was you.
Me.
Thank you.
Stranger
Don't
danger. I'm kind of like a fungus that grew on her, you know what I mean? Like you can't get rid of it. So it's funny, we're talking with the team here today about some of that stuff. And for us too, it's kind of really good timing because we've been married 20 years.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah. 20 years as of October.
That's right. You're getting it right so far.
So we are getting ready to go to Jamaica. Come on, next week.
Yes.
How was
that?
Very happy to
So
celebrate the 20th. Yes.
We're excited about that. Yeah. So it's been awesome. So I'll kind of start.
Okay.
And it's funny because we were just talking about this today with somebody else as well. So we met in college, first day of college, and we're getting settled into our dorms and all that fun stuff. And no exaggeration, the first night of college, first night of school, I saw her on the steps of the dorm. I said, "Man, you're amazing. You're an amazing woman. Like, what's going on with you? You're different from all the other women." And I said, night one, right out of the gate, "Will you marry me?"
That's what he did.
Really?
We were just sitting on the stoop.
Yeah.
It was like late from coming from other places. And I think you were with a friend, and then again, first day. So I met someone, a couple
trying
ladies.
to find your tribe, your people.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were sitting on the stoop outside.
Yeah.
And it just so happened I sat at a stoop, and I don't know if you came to sit behind me, on stairs, right? If you sit behind me or you were definitely so you may have targeted me, but I just didn't pick up on that yet. But yeah, then we just started talking, and then I think it was pretty cool because I remember it was we just clicked, just we were talking. It's we got it. We used to be I don't know, it just something clicked.
Some of the other people were, talking about surface stuff and kind of, just random things that made no sense, from anything. So
Yeah.
I said, these people are crazy, but this girl, this is something different over
That's
here.
Right. And
I want to know more about all that.
That's right. And he really did. He actually did. He's like, will you? He actually asked me to marry him in front, in front of everybody. And I was like,
I was joking.
No,
obviously.
but I'll be your best friend. And then immediately put him in the friend zone. He was like,
I'll take what I can get.
Right.
I mean, to me,
so one step at a time.
So I just I maintained diligent in that friend zone for about a year and a half. There's a little discrepancy though on what the official start date was when we dated.
Right.
But forgiveness, grace.
Yes. We were definitely very good. We were really good friends for that whole year and a half before we officially started to kind of date and everything. So
That's always good to start on that foundation as becoming good friends first. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
the most important thing
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And then once we started dating, it just kind of, we've been together ever since. So
Time flies.
we've known each other for quite some time.
Wow, that's an awesome story. Listen, that was so bold of you. I am so listen. That
Listen, hold on, because the last episode I talked about we're in freedom and there's power in our words.
that's right. That's
You
right.
gotta speak it. I say, you're my wife. You don't know it.
Lock it down.
You put it out there. That was it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that with us. We've heard some interesting origin stories. I think that might be in the top 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So let's jump into the topic for tonight. So I guess first, let's talk about just how important it is to make sure that as a husband and wife, you're on the same page financially. Like, what are your thoughts about, one, I guess, how you get to that point? Because we all come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the way our family handled finances or our parents handle finances or lack thereof determines the way we handle it. So coming together as husband and wife, like, how important is it to make sure that we're on the same page about those things?
Yeah, it's almost like it's one of those things people don't like to talk about, right? It's like that bill that keeps coming, like the joke. You go to the mailbox, it's always the same thing, right? Like, oh, another bill in the mailbox. Yeah. And it's people don't want to see that stuff rack up. They don't want to pay attention to their finances. They don't want to do a plan for their finances and all that fun stuff. And we're not going to sit here and say that's always been amazing for us, because it hasn't. But it's crazy because some of the negative things that happen to us in our finances are where we are today. With our money and how we deal with it and how we confront it on a regular basis. So just to kind of like we were doing earlier, go back a little bit from a history standpoint. Yeah. If we're being candid, we're all family, right? We can be candid. We can go there.
That's right.
So when we were dating is one thing, but as you start moving to the next level, it's like, oh boy, she's got this, I've got that. And we were in different phases of our lives. She lived in Jersey. Come on, my Jersey people, right?
Okay.
Now, I was here in Delaware.
That's right.
So going back, she had a mad, crazy amount of debt.
I did actually, yeah.
Like crazy, scary. Like I saw the numbers, I'm like, whoa! I'm not signing up for all that. Right?
Yeah,
right.
I'm out.
I would say, like, because I think I had gotten laid off from my job, and then I started to play the credit card game of paying that bill, and then like paying the other bill, and kind of doing that until I would get it, till I could get like a job, like a good job to like help pay those bills off. Mm-hmm. And I want to say, because I can go there, like I'll say, I think I want to say like 15,000 was probably about.
I think it was higher. All right, that's like the fish story. Like, how big was your fish? Like, it was like
no,
14 pounds.
It
was like 20K plus.
It was
it was 20.
No, I don't think
it was a lot.
We'll have to go back.
Either way, whatever.
But it was around there
at the time. It was going to be challenging to pay that off.
Yeah, it wasn't. Like, like we were very new in our career. Yeah, like we were just starting career, and barely making anything. And that was where, but you were always actually more disciplined, I would say, because unfortunately, and this kind of goes back to where you kind of come from and like your family and my family, my mom and dad, they did okay, but I definitely don't think that they taught me anything around finances, and that credit cards were just like a piece of the, just what you do, obviously always keeping your credit score up and being mindful of that. So if you can, at least just try and pay things. But the idea of actually like paying things off and stuff was like, oh no, this is just how everyone else lives. Like, that's kind of the world I came from, where I know Dave and like your history, if you want to talk about that, but like you kind of always had you had some people as you started to get older that kind of, in my mind, as I think of it, as really gave you some guidance.
So even from an origin standpoint, I love my parents. I'm thankful for them. But learning from their wins and learning from their losses, if that makes sense. Right.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot there, but I think I learned the most, and we talk about all the time, is like who you spend time with. Right. So even from a friendship standpoint, relationships and jobs and who we have around us. So part of my career I was in banking for 20 plus years, so I'm thankful for that. But part of that season was I actually worked in and around like golf courses and the golf business and all that stuff. So it's amazing that whatever I was as a young man at 18, 19, 20, early 20s, even to mid 20s, I was spending time with people that were basically millionaires. And so I just asked them questions all the time. How did you get there? What are you doing? What do you do with your money? And it really set me up for where we are today with some of those questions and that foundation that was there. So it's almost never being scared to talk about it, because people want to share, right? They want to share with you their experience and their education and their failures as well. So I asked a lot of questions, and most of my friends at the time were probably 20, 25 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty interesting dynamic,
Yeah. And that's, I think that's really important when you talk about the people that you surround yourself with. There's a saying, you never want to be the smartest person in the room, because we should always be learning and growing and being inquisitive about those things so that we can grow and evolve. And with that, speaking of evolving, I know you all were together young coming out of college. Something that we didn't throw out there is that over the years, you have had some experience in the financial industry. As you learned and have grown in that area, being in that field has also helped you, I'm sure, establish good habits and different practices as well when it comes to your family and your finances.
I know for me anyway, keeps being in the industry for so long, it keeps money at the top of the forefront of your thoughts a lot, because historically some of the things that I've done in that realm was I saw credit reports, and I there were seasons where I did mortgages and stuff like that. And I would have conversations with people. I would even at times, there was a time working people with their debt. So I would see the concept of asking really personal questions about income, right? So it's like, all right, the basic math is you make $2,000 a month, but you have your car loans are $1,500. You know what I mean? Like all y'all, everybody's driving a BMW, everybody's driving a Cadillac, so you have $500 live off. The basic math doesn't work, and a lot of people don't want to pay attention to that. Like what's that concept of we've got champagne tastes with our money, but we McDonald's budget, right? So we want to live up to the Joneses. And I remember even as a young couple in a house we had, we would walk around the neighborhood, and Liz would always say, how did the people have that? Like, how do they have that big house, that BMW, that car, they got boats and all this stuff? And I said, being an industry, I said, they're in debt up to their eyeballs. Like when I grew up, that commercial back in the day, they're in debt up to their eyeballs. Like that's how they do it. And we've had that approach. Our motto for our family is travel light, and travel light financially. So if God takes you and wants to move you somewhere, you're able to do that without saying, oh, I'm stuck in this. I got this boat, this house, this rental down the beach, or whatever the case is. So we've always tried to travel light with our finances,
Yeah. And I think that's where kind of when I think about how it started, like in some ways, me coming in with that debt that we had going into a marriage, it was kind of a blessing because we knew what we didn't want to be.
You don't want to see it at the time though.
No, right. But I look back and it was like, but we were able to, but this is where, again, because you were disciplined, you actually had you owned a home.
I did.
By the age of 24, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So unfortunately, you don't always want to do this, right? But we were able to pull out like a home equity to kind of at least alleviate that debt. And then we knew that it was something that going forward, we never wanted to kind of be in again. So that idea of having that very discipline of, looking and evaluate our finances and being very mindful of what we spend, or if we were going to spend it, to kind of really start to think through and save up for something. But what I think I would say in my mind is where I shifted and why I didn't ever want to be in that place again was because sometimes we kind of connect our finances with our, there's such a strong emotional attachment to it, as oh no, I'm in debt, therefore I'm a failure, right? And so many people don't want to talk about it because of that very fact that they think they'll be judged by it. And the moment you just bring it forward and you talk about it and you realize you look at money for what it is versus how it has nothing to do with who you are as an actual individual and human being on this earth.
Preach.
I think that
Yeah, I
that's
was gonna
where
say,
you
yes.
can easily really kind of then look at it just very practically, and then you can tackle it versus always hiding it and feeling more shameful around it. And that's why I think
Wow.
that ultimately people get in so much more debt because they don't want to have those conversations.
Wow.
They
Whew.
definitely look at it like it's a negative thing, and that it's negative on them as a person. That's so true. That's really, really good.
Man, drop the mic
I
on that
know.
one because
My
oh,
goodness.
All right, thank you all. Have a good.
Yeah, have a good night. All right. God bless you.
It's been real. You know,
So
go ahead. I'm gonna let you go, but that really spoke to me because I know for me, and we talked about earlier how you know, our background or the experiences as we grew up or what we saw has an effect on the way we handle money as an adult. And you know, my parents as well, like amazing, they did the best that they could, but they weren't taught specifically about finances. So as they struggled and I saw their struggle, my mindset as an adult was always like, I don't ever want to go back to that struggle, but at the same time I didn't know how not to. So my mentality surrounding money was fear. It was fear-based, where it was like I always have to hustle or I can't spend anything because, you know, I remember those times that, you know, we couldn't put oil in the house for heat. You know what I mean? And you know, and my parents did an amazing job making sure that we had everything we need, and God always provided everything that we needed. But I was able to see that struggle, and so it established that fear in me and caused some bad habits, you know, that took a while to break.
Oh yeah, a long time.
Like
I spend $5 on lunch, and you like, why'd you buy lunch?
I'm like, wait a minute, did you eat today? Like you should have took up all the cereal to work. What are you doing?
Just had some cold oatmeal. What?
Yeah, it's crazy. Now it's 15. It went from 5, now it's 15, 18. How did it go?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's definitely inflation is real.
So I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
But through those challenges that you guys had, and especially as you got together and began to grow together, what was your thoughts on having like a shared bank account versus the individual bank account?
So I can tell you, I was like waiting for him because I'm like,
I was like, which account do I have to make sure everybody's aware of today?
But I think this is where it kind of goes to this ability of when you're a married couple, you really should have no secrets, and things need to be exposed, and things need to be always front and center. And I actually believe that it actually should be joint, because then that way it really helps you guys learn how to play on a team. Because I think what happens is it's like when they're separate, I'm just going by from other people that I know and have it separate. It's, well, this is mine and that's yours, or I pay this and you pay that. And then if someone's not then meeting those expectations, sometimes it's not like looking at it holistically, because maybe that one person's not making as much money and they're like, you know, then you're not really sitting down and having the conversation about budget and really talking through things. And it can actually almost cause some resentment. Or that other person has almost like, it almost can bring like God did not intend this, of almost like a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think though, when you really look at the finances as a team and say, this is ours, and by having that, you know, joint check account, like, or like any kind of accounts in that kind of way, I think just really helps really bring things together.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm a young guy. I'm in my 20s, right? So I would.
In your mind, maybe.
But I think that's where society has really, I don't mean to sound like the old guy, like, oh, look at where we are now. But it's like society has drastically changed, and some of it's certainly beautiful, but not all of it really healthy, meaning that from the standpoint of relationships and marriage, the Bible's pretty clear, the two become one. And I think a lot of times in marriages, you're just roommates hanging out, right? So it's like, you're just in the environment and all of those kind of things, but two becoming one is that then everyone deals with the finances together. Everyone deals with the transactions together and like the what to spend, how to spend it, how much to spend, all those type of things.
Yeah.
We've really considered our family from that point going forward, back to our origin. Like going forward, we call ourselves Team Shanny, which is we are in this together. We are doing this together. All of our decisions are made together. And, you know, even for us spending things, if I want to spend something, then I'm going to run it past my spouse to make sure that she's okay with it. And she's going to do the same thing for me. So, it's basically going from a roommate mentality, and every family's different, right? So don't hit up Toy Jose, say, what do you say?
Don't do it, y'all. Don't do it.
Every family is a little bit different. Every dynamic is a little bit different. But I will say that it is a team, and you're able to stay on top of your finances better by not having money or hiding accounts. I've done tons of marital things in marital counseling. Somebody's got account hiding over here. Well, what for? I do have one old school credit card. It was my first credit card growing up. Liz is like, why put on that credit card? Like,
I pay the bills. So
I don't spend any money on it.
Right.
Yeah. So joint is the key. And however that works for people and however they manage that, I know it's a big thing on, I got $100 left in there. You just spent 125. So obviously you have to stay on top of it and people communication and keeping receipts, however you balance that. But it just brings the two of you together, because it's almost like if one person manages that account and it's, most of the mortgage or the rent or whatever the case is, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Right. Managing 90% of the finances on your own, and then somebody else pays utilities. It creates challenges in the relationship. So
and we've had some couples who will say like they have a joint account for mostly everything, but then they may also each have their own personal accounts for self-care, or if they want to buy a gift for their significant other and they don't want them to see what they're buying for them. So we've heard a few different scenarios where people have the joint account, but then even if you had that separate account for those type of things, it's still, there has to be transparency there too. Because like you said, everything should be in the forefront. You are still one, and there should be no secrets. It's one thing if you're trying to surprise your spouse, with a nice gift for your anniversary or something like that. And you put money to the side, every pay, it goes into that account or something. But again, transparency has to be key.
Yeah. I think the fact that you said resentment is so true, where if you're doing the separate accounts and you both have your own individual one, if I'm paying, like you said, 90% of the bills and you're paying 10%, it can start to make it seem like the hierarchy where I'm doing more than you, but it should never be me or I. And when you're in a marriage, it's you guys are together, it's a team. And it has to be that way. You have to change your mentality, and it's a pride thing. Like when you want to make a purchase, going to your spouse and saying, hey, is it okay if I do this? It's a pride thing, especially for us men. Like, I'm not asking.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm a spender, you know what I mean?
Right. And I'm the same way, where I'll ask her and then she's like, I don't care. Why are you asking me? But it's like, it's more of just the respect and to making sure that we're on the same page. Like, I don't want to make a purchase and then you're like, what's this purchase? Why did you get that? So it's more of, it's not, we have to swallow our pride and be able to ask those questions.
Yeah. A lot of families I've seen over the years, not anyone listening, nobody on here would think this way, but a lot of people go into marriages based on convenience. So easy in, and the problem is easy in, easy out. So if I don't combine all my stuff together, then when this gets rocky, which is going to get rocky, then it's easy for me to walk away.
Yeah. Wow.
So you have to be very conscious of that too, because if you're in and you're married and two of you have become one, you're all in. Right. So we've been blessed by having all our money together, and we just manage who spends what, how we spend it, and all that fun stuff.
Right. Communication is always key. That's one of, as Millennium Marriage, that's one of our key pillars is communication, because regardless of what the topic is, whether it's finances or trust or expectations or parenting, you have to communicate with each other. You know, we have to be open and transparent and willing to have those tough conversations. So it always goes back to that. And along with that, when you talk about managing the accounts, something that we have also discussed that we think is really important is identifying each other's gifts in the area. Because I'll tell you right now, don't give me a number past 10 because it's going to get transposed. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to make it up. And numbers are just, they're my kryptonite. At the same time, really this guy, you know, listen, when we were dating back in the day, we would be driving in the car and it drove me crazy. He would literally be looking at the license plates in front of us and figuring out what the number was to add to that license plate number to make it 1 million. Who cares? Like, why? And why do you like enjoy dealing with numbers like that? You know,
it's like a brain teaser. It's like to keep my brain.
I guess so. But with that said, it was like, yeah, you can handle all these bills. I don't want anything to do with it. Like, you know, and at one point in our relationship, like early on, I was handling them more because like I had been on my own, I guess, earlier and a little more independent when it came to like having to pay bills and things like that, whereas he didn't have to do that as soon as I did. So I was kind of used to that when it came to us, you know, in our apartment and all of that. But we quickly realized like I would get very overwhelmed. Like every time that it was time to pay the bills, like I'd be stressing. And again, that fear-based mentality of we can't spend anything, you know, we can't go out on a date, we can't enjoy ourselves because we work to pay bills. So, you know, once we realized, it got to the point where it was creating so much stress. I mean, I would have migraines out the wazoo. And then it clicked like, why am I even doing this? Because I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just like, that's what's due. Let's pay it. And then we don't have enough money for anything else, you know? So I wasn't really managing it well. And I think once we figured that out and realized, okay, you should be managing that. And, you know, you got adjusted to doing that. It really made a world of difference for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know who manages that in your house. That's what we know.
Absolutely. Now schedules and, you know, if something needs to be written or anything like that, listen, I'll write a 10-page paper for you in an hour and a half, but do not ask me to include any equations in it. So yeah, that's not gonna
so true. So true. And scheduling all the way. I got to call her like, am I free on Saturday? I don't know.
It's a balance. It's a balance.
In our house, so Toy, we're probably similar and we probably grew up in a similar way, right? We didn't have tons growing up. So even me growing up, I had to learn how to hustle on my own from a very young age. Liz did too, actually.
Yeah, we both didn't grow up.
As soon as I was legally able to create income or start generating some sort of income, I started doing that probably 12, 13. I started doing some of that stuff. 14.
Wow.
From 14 on, I was all in. So in my house, I get anxious about the bill. So Liz, aka Lizzie, managed the budget and income and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, actually, most of the income. Hallelujah.
Okay.
We appreciate like rewind.
It was a payoff. That debt back in the day was a payoff. You know,
you were investing in me. That's what
long term. Long term.
And it was more than worth it.
Reaping those rewards.
There you go.
So Liz manages the budgets in our house. So praise God. So Toy, I was the same way. So it just created a lot of anxiety and things like that. And
But where I think, you know, like to rewind, even like when we first kind of got married, you know, you were actually making a lot more money than me. In comparison at the time. And so where I think it really worked well, because we were joint, like it was as though I had got to pay a contribution into it and like, okay, yeah, I'll manage this. And so when we talk into it, I think you mentioned like giftings, that's where I could kind of help and come to the table. So again, we became like a unit together, because I feel like if, and this is again, just more my personality, again, everybody's different, but I think that if you were making more money and then you were in charge of the finances, I would almost feel like I'd be like, can I have a little bit? You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
would have been approached a little bit different, where I think because we both kind of played a role in it together, and we used
Mhm.
our giftings together, because I am a very organized person. Money and numbers, considering unfortunately I was that in debt, but they don't scare me. Like I don't have that attachment in that same kind of way.
Mhm.
Um, it was just something I think that really worked out very early, that kind of helped us to stay together, because we would actually together still do them, but it's like I had some weight because I had to pay them, and then he had some weight because he obviously was earning a little bit more at the time for the household.
Right.
And so I think that's where, because we had the sharing, it helped us to kind of really stay together and stay like and be more, connected around the
Yeah.
finances.
Yeah. A true partnership.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, it's a better word.
Awesome. So we, for the most of you already know, Jose and I and Pastor Shani, we are all Symbis certified.
Mhm.
And that stands for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. For those of you who are unaware. So within that curriculum, one of the things they talk about, first they say there's 4 elements of financial confidence, and it's heart, health, habits, and hope. So we want to talk a little bit about the habits that they mentioned, the 5 biblical principles around habits when it comes to finance. So 1, it's spend less than you earn. 2, give generously. 3, avoid debt. 4, plan for financial margin. And 5, set long-term goals. So, I guess what out of those 5, would you say one takes precedence over the other? Is it more like you have to have all kind of in place to really get where you need to be? Or is there one that really stands out to you that, if someone was trying to figure all of this out, like where do we start?
And before you go, okay, I want everyone to listen. Number 1, come on, people. If you don't earn this much money, don't spend more than you earn. It's pretty
Well,
basic.
that's that basic math he was
Right,
talking about earlier.
absolutely. Well,
That
we have to be
unfortunately,
smarter, and not. I mean that should be pretty self-explanatory. But people
I was gonna say
don't.
but in society today,
They do.
the mentality around that is different.
I totally
So
agree, and I'm just telling people, come on, let's be smarter.
let's be smart
Yeah.
about it.
Come on, let's be smarter.
All right. So what are the 5 again?
So the 5 are: spend less than you earn, give generously, avoid debt, plan for financial margin, and set long-term goals.
Yeah. So as a senior general Symbis certified coordinator, I'm just playing. So
that's right.
So part of what we do in Symbis, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, is really setting the foundation for education in your marriage. And even we've done Symbis with people that have been married as well. But a lot of times, a big thing that comes out of that is they haven't planned in any way, and they don't know how to plan based on your background and your origin. And a lot of times, almost every one that I've done for Symbis or like I do a lot of premarital counseling pastorally. And a lot of times we will give them our personal, without the numbers, we'll give them our personal budget sheets for them to build off of, right? So a lot of people, the big thing is I started one but didn't keep going with it. That's the big thing. So all encompassing of those 5, and I want Liz to jump in here obviously as well. But the big thing, one of the big things we teach in Symbis, or I teach personally in Symbis, not only in Symbis, but in marital classes pastorally, and even from the pulpit or giving or generosities, depending on where people are with all of that, is a big thing is the 10-10-80 rule. Is a big one, and it could go up to even 10-10-10-70. So there's a couple things there. So so the first 10% of your income, if you have your income, your first 10% could and should be giving, depending where you are, right, and how much you can afford. The Bible's pretty clear on giving and what that means, depending on where you are in your walk with the Lord, right? As depending on who's listening now. So biblically, giving is 10%. So right off the bat, giving to your local storehouse, your local church, those kind of things. The other 10% is going to be generational right? So, all right, 10% goes to my local church, giving, those kind of things. The second 10% is going to be for generations, right? Generations being my kids. And here's what's crazy is a lot of people don't think generationally. They barely think past themselves. So it's almost like I'm going to spend as much as I can before I pass or before I die, right? So what would it look like if you thought 150 years out or 100 years out? So not only think about the generational wealth for your kids, but your kids' kids.
Wow.
It changes your mentality to say, what would it look like if I had money stored up for my great grandchildren?
Right.
Right. So it's like, all right, well, the way we grew up, our parents always said, I want you to do better than us. Well, put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, again, first one, 10% is, church tithing and things like that. The second 10% is generational. Right. The third would be just savings in general. Basic savings for you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
10% easy right off the bat, could be needed for repairs or whatever the case is down the road, could be for vacations, trips, could be for four-wheelers, could be motorcycles in my case, right? Come on, can I get an amen for that?
Okay.
Could be for motorcycle trips, could be for Jamaica like we're doing Jamaica. Those kind of things we pay cash with because we live off this principle. And then there's your 3, there's your 30%, and then the next 70 could be what you live off of. And if you start to budget yourself off of that, your needs versus wants become even easier, meaning like the Sunday football package. You know what I mean? If that's 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, those kind of things. Do you need that or do you want it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need that new iPhone or do you want it? Do you need that BMW or can you drive that beat up old Honda for a little bit longer? Those kind of things, right? So if that's your foundation, your decisions for income going forward get a lot easier. So 10, 10, 10, 70. And when you start getting really good at that, you up it. Now 20% goes to a community, 20% goes to giving in the area and to the maybe to other regions or whatever the case is. Now 20% goes to my great grandchildren. Now 20% goes into my savings. And now I start to learn to live off 40.
Wow.
That's good.
Because a lot of people in our age, and I'll quit rambling, but a lot of people in our age, when they start making more income again, I'm 25, right? So,
right.
But when you get in your 40s and 50s, you start making more money. Now, all of a sudden, you buy the big house, your dream house.
They always do that. Yeah. So many do that.
Yeah. It just always has freaked me out because we're at that place in our lives and career where it's like we could definitely buy that bigger property or what we always wanted as a kid. But what for, right? What value does that add? So we want to pay off all of our debts and all of that stuff by a certain age. And for us, that's within the next 5 years, we want to become debt free with properties and all that fun stuff. So 10, 10, 10, 70, working, our way up from that is really how we try to live.
Yeah. And just to say, like, to clarify, because this is something you didn't talk about, like, was more around that retirement side of it. I know you said savings, but like, obviously when we think of generationally, making sure that you first kind of have something set for yourself for retirement before
savings,
you think that way.
401ks, IRAs, all that fun
and then
stuff,
the goal is, of course, that your retirement is big enough, of course, to ultimately help from a legacy.
That side stock account that you got, you know what I mean? We didn't get into Bitcoin, but we can do that another episode a little bit.
Right. Yes. Listen, because I don't understand any of it. So that would be great.
It's volatile. Be careful. That's what it is.
That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate that you called that 110% generational because honestly, I've never thought of it like that. In my mind, that 10% has always been savings, you know what I mean? And I think currently most of us, when we hear savings, many people are thinking about that emergency fund, that's what savings is for. And then we stop there. We're not thinking further than that. We're just focused on the now. And if something happens right now, then I'm going to pull from the savings to take care of it. But I think that's really important to change our mindset around that and think more generational.
Yeah. And even if we're thinking like for our kids, we're not thinking past them. We're not thinking about the grandkids or the great grandkids, down that line. We're just thinking about, all right, we want to set our kids up, but not anything further.
Yeah. That's good.
And I think when you speak that, and when you definitely think that through generationally, not only is it from a financial standpoint as you saving it, but I know that we definitely early on have tried to introduce financial type principles to our children.
Right.
And so that in itself almost can even break any, generational things that might not go the right way that you want. Right. So that's where it's even having those conversations, making them aware that, money helps things, but it's not the end all be all, but there's ways that you can steward it properly. And even, I think if I wish sometimes you had some of that even in high school and, even college, and just understanding those basics, because it's not really there, because that really, looking back, I could have been so much further along in certain things than I am today, but I want to make sure that that's not happening for my kids for sure. And so that they're prepped and ready for it too.
Yeah. For us, it's, God first. Like even my daughter, she's almost 15. My daughter tithes based on the income that we give her for chores or whatever the case is. We went to the bank, set up an account. She's got her little access on her phone with the app and all that fun stuff. And she gives through that, which is super encouraging. So she's already kind of starting that foundation now, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
And it's also cool because you can then identify your children and kind of what their nature is, right? So, and that even just, I think
our oldest is a saver.
Yeah.
My youngest is going to be expensive bride in the future.
She is definitely.
She's going to be no joke. She is a spender.
So make sure you're preparing with that generational thing.
So it's like making her, hey, that's great if that's like naturally, but making sure she's very aware.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that, hey, as a saver, it's okay to sometimes splurge, and that's okay. You don't, and then obviously a spender, hey, sometimes you need to kind of put some things to the side and wait to purchase something.
Yeah, the big challenge with people is people live month to month.
Yep.
And they say, can I afford that payment this month? Yeah, I'm going to, it's almost like, come on, we're all family here, right? Christians like, praise God, look what God gave me. God gave me a new car. No, God just gave man approved a loan for you to buy that car. Now you're in debt for the next 7 years at $900 a month, right? So it's like, just because you're approved for it doesn't mean you should buy it. It's almost like when you buy a house.
That's actually a great point, because now I look back, you just reminded me, with the house that we live in today, we got approved for a very large loan, but we chose actually not to go to the level of our approval. And because of that, the moment we had kids, I was able to work part-time versus us having to like work full-time the whole time and stuff, because it was also like, that's great that you said I'm approved for that, but does that actually really make sense for me and my family and our thought, because they want to, of course, give you more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So really
the concept of excess in our society right now, it's like, you can have this much, but we don't need that much, so changing our mentality about that's really important.
Yeah, a lot of young couples, what I encourage them with is that they start getting their first income, their first job, their first 5 years of income, or whatever the case is. Now they start looking for a home, or they have a home, or they want to upgrade to a better, bigger home. That's all super beautiful, but there's no children in play yet. What I suggest to them is, can you live off of this property thing, rental, with one income? And usually it blows their mind because they're not even thinking in that way. Because everybody, for the most part, like Liz is a great example. I'm going to call her out. We got married and we were praying about having kids and thinking about having kids. I knew her and she said, oh no, I'm going to work.
I'm going to keep on
I'm a career woman. Yes. I'm going to do all that stuff. I said,
yep.
That baby was born in the hospital. I said, oh boy.
There it is.
Changed.
I don't want her to go. Yeah.
So immediately, pretty much right out of the gate, she goes, I'm going to go part-time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to scramble a little bit. You got to shuffle. And even back in the day, I remember, and this isn't beneath anyone, but the type of car I was driving at the time, we paid cash for, was the same car that, an 18-year-old was driving, kind of thing. So again, it's not, but it puts things in perspective. That's what we could afford at the time. We called that car, which was not fast and not fancy. We called it the Silver Bullet. Our kids growing up, they thought it was a fancy car. Like, I thought that was like a Ferrari. I said, no, man. That was a Ford Taurus, man.
I know that.
A supercar. She had no idea.
That thing didn't have air. The seat wouldn't move. You know what I mean? Like, what? back in when I grew up, my cars growing up in high school, the door wouldn't open or say,
Right, you had to reach outside to open the window down.
Yes.
I remember driving to school one day. My brother flew out of the car because the door was. That's how I grew up. So the struggle's real.
Goodness. It is. The struggle is real, but when we are willing to make those sacrifices, it pays off in the long run, you know, and it teaches us to be disciplined, you know, so that our children and our children's children, you know, can benefit from our sacrifice, you know.
Even the investments in the legacy stuff, if you put it out there in an account, a 401k, a Roth IRA, or any of those things, a lot of times what people will do is they'll think of that's an accessible fund that they can dip into. The problem is you should never touch that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like taking loans off your 401ks. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so please don't take advice from me, but just the stuff I've learned over the years. That 401k, you leave it. That IRA, you leave it. It's not an accessible fund that you can pull money in and out of. So again, I'm not an investment counselor or any of those things. Praise God, I'm a pastor. I haven't learned a lot over the years, but I've seen people over the years. They get to 65 or 70 and they gotta work at wherever the case they have to work at. And I always would ask them lovingly, why are you in this scenario? It's because I've made some of those mistakes of dipping into that money I shouldn't have touched or whatever the case is.
Right.
So, that money goes in that legacy fund, whatever it is, don't touch it. It's for when you get older or for your kids.
Right. Well, listen, I think that you all have provided so many great points, great nuggets, where anybody who's listening, no matter what position you're in, if you feel like you need a reset or you really need to come together and reestablish your foundation when it comes to finances, if you need to have those conversations about, you know, being on the same page about certain things, or if you need to reevaluate, there is something in this episode for each and every person, including us. Like, I appreciate, I mean, there are just moments where I was like, ooh, got some chills because I needed that. You know, we needed that. So we appreciate that. But before we close out, we have one more question for you all.
We like to have a little bit of just breaking the seriousness somewhat. And giving our well, we like to give our listeners some ideas, maybe some date night ideas or some, you know, different experiences. So we like to ask our guests, what was your favorite date night trip / experience that you guys had throughout your 20 years plus?
And each of you can answer. Like, you can each have your own favorite. Again, it's just to spark something.
Goodness. I have to admit, there have been a lot, though. There really have been a lot. But one, and this is where I feel like, you know, obviously we're going to be going to Jamaica soon, so I'm very excited about that. It's like our second honeymoon in my mind.
She is fired up.
But I would actually say, to me, one of the ones that I just hold so clear, dear to my heart, is it was our 5-year anniversary. We went to the Virgin Islands, and it was right before, like, we decided we're gonna like truly like start to have a family and everything. But before that, we wanted to have almost like a last hurrah, because in our minds that was like gonna be the last time, you know. Go away. And actually, now I think about it, like we did little overnights here and there for the past 20 years, but 15 years ago was the last time we really actually went on a vacation, just the two of us, for a week. So this is we're finally at that place. We're now like coming full circle. So I would say that was just like a very special time, near dear to my heart.
Awesome.
You know, so.
Yeah. So for me, what I've learned to be with Liz is spontaneous. So no plans, nothing on the agenda. And as a husband, my wife, I don't know about the listeners, but my wife likes things to be done for her spontaneously, where she didn't have to plan it. She didn't have to worry about anything.
Yes, Lord Jesus.
You walk in the room and say, Liz, look what we're doing tonight. And so a lot of our date nights have been, because it's really challenging for us where we are in our lives, meaning we love this time in our lives, but Liz works a lot in what she does for her career. Pastorally, I work, 5, 6 at times. This the last week or so, or 2 weeks, has been at times a 7-day work weeks, which is active, right? So those spontaneous getaways is we try to build that into our day-to-day. meaning that we will finish church for Sundays, a work day for me. So we'll finish church on Sundays and we'll get in the car and go down to the beach and stay in Ocean City for a night. The big joke for us is when it's cheaper, right? Come on, praise God for that. It's cheaper, like expensive. You can go down the beach on an oceanfront for, pretty inexpensive. And we'll do those on Sunday nights a lot. We've done it within the last maybe 6 weeks. We've done it on a Sunday night. We've dropped that, driven down. Yeah. And drive down to Ocean City or something for the night for a pretty inexpensive getaway. So.
But just even, and I have to admit, like, I do love the unexpected, spontaneous stuff that you do, like where I don't have to plan anything. Because it can even be like, sometimes I'll come home from work on like a random Thursday and he's like, I made reservations for dinner. And I was like, you did? Like, I just so excited because it's like, I love little surprises like that. So even just those little like moments, I so appreciate.
Know the favorite restaurant, right? Know the favorites.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Spontaneity is
spontaneity for me is one that I'm just like, oh my gosh, because I usually feel like I can always figure things out too quick. And when it totally comes out of left field, I get so excited.
Right.
So this is the second guest that has put so much pressure on me. Because that is something I need to work on.
We do what we can.
I try, but the spontaneity is something that I need to work on myself. So this is the second guest in a row that.
I mean, some people call it confirmation from the Lord, but I'm just saying, but you do good. Listen, let me say, the surprise party.
I think I set I'm good for the rest of the year.
That was a big one. That was a big one. And it made up for, some space. But I will say the surprise party for my birthday this year, my 40th birthday, I can't believe that he even surprised me, like, because he can't hold water. But him and my mom, like, put that together. And that was like, I literally didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way he did. And to the point where, and then I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but to the point where I'm upstairs getting my makeup done because my friend tricked me and told me she was gifting me a photo shoot for my 40th birthday. And the makeup artist is like, so you're doing your photo shoot. What else are you doing for your birthday? And I was like, nothing. I'm probably just going to chill at home. She was like, oh no, your family's not doing anything. I was like, yeah, my husband's not really a planner, so I'm not really expecting much of anything. I said we might go to dinner, and I'll probably have a cake and I'll sing happy birthday. And then I went downstairs and there was like 100 people there, and I was like, egg in face. All right, you got me. Great job. So you did good.
So can I put it on record that I won Get to Know Toya that night? I'm just saying.
You did.
Over family.
Yes, because he didn't want to come up there and get the prize.
Come on.
You wanted me to go up there because I was like, wait, I didn't even know I was playing.
You sure did. Go ahead, Pastor Shani. He was on point.
On point.
You're a great listener. That's why.
Yeah.
You're a great listener, and you take
notes.
What you say?
I can't with you. But no, we appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the great work.
We love you. We appreciate all that you all have poured into us and continue to do. We really love and appreciate you both. So thank you so much for taking time out of your. Yes. Oh, okay. Y'all heard that. They're coming back. They're coming back. Okay. So stay tuned.
Be ready. Be ready.
Yes. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Listen, we might have to listen to this a couple of times. So, put this episode on repeat if you need to. There's so many different little nuggets in it that we can all apply to our relationship, to our finances. So let's do this together. All right.
Yep.
So until next time, everybody, continue to invest in each other for a marriage that lasts a lifetime. Have a good one. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and share. Keep up with us on social media at Millennium Marriage and visit our website at millenniummarriage.com.